Live at 7 o'clock on Spectrum News. Congress takes a holiday break, but still have a lot of items to cover at the start of next year. We'll take you live to Washington, D.C. to take a look at the temporary spending bill that passed to avoid a government shutdown. RDU is bustling this morning as travelers quickly head to their holiday destinations. Spectrum News is there to see just how early you should arrive. Sales in guns spike around Black Friday and are still going up. Hear from one Fayetteville gun shop about which ones are flying off the shelves. And good morning on this Friday, December 22nd. I'm Tara Hershout alongside meteorologist Lee Ringer. And Lee, I understand we'll have some nice mild temperatures to finish up our Christmas shopping.
Yeah, not bad at all. Really, it will be warming up for tomorrow, and it won't feel so much like Christmas. But if you like chilly weather on Christmas Day, I think you're going to like that forecast.
And Lindy, what are the most popular destinations this year?
Well, Tara, it looks like people really want to stay warm this holiday season. Maybe pay a visit to the Magic Kingdom, because the most popular destinations this year, for the second year in a row, actually include Orlando and Anaheim, California. Mexico is also topping that list. So, of course, we'll continue to keep you updated on conditions here as the morning continues. Tara?
All right, a little sunshine for Christmas. We'll check back in with you in just a bit. Lindy Supal live from RDU International Airport this morning. The Senate approved a spending bill last night that will keep the federal government operating, but it's only a short-term fix. Our Washington, D.C. Bureau reporter Samantha Jo Roth joins us live now from Capitol Hill. And Samantha Jo, what is it that they actually got accomplished?
Well, hey, Tara, government shutdown averted for now. At least the lights here in the Capitol will stay on for about a month or so. But lawmakers have now kicked a full lineup of leftover work into the new year.
And the peaceful transfer of power has occurred. Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States. His inaugural address lasting about 16 minutes and 13 seconds, one of the shorter ones in the last 30 years. George W. Bush was a little bit shorter back in 2001. The president saying we are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and to restore its promise for all of our people. He talked significantly about restoring the government back to the people, and also talking about building roads and rails, and talking about how America is united. When we are united, we are unstoppable. There you see President Obama, now former President Obama, actually shaking hands there with Elizabeth Dole, a former North Carolina senator. Bob Dole in a wheelchair next to them. You see them shaking hands as well. A lot of these dignitaries, in some ways, this will be a reunion of sorts for a lot of these people. But former North Carolina Senator Elizabeth Dole getting some camera time there as well. Jonathan Feltz has been with us all morning prior to the inauguration. He's worked as a political director for President George W. Bush and also ran the Bush-Cheney 2004 campaign here in North Carolina. Good afternoon now, Jonathan. You've changed coats on us. Is this a moment of patriotism? I didn't want to be accused of
being less than enthusiastic, so I've had a huge wardrobe change here and everything, Tim.
Is that an H or a Y on the huge there?
Now turn our attention to some big races right here in North Carolina, and we start with the gubernatorial race between Governor Pat McCrory and Attorney General Roy Cooper. This race has been in the spotlight a lot this year, both locally and nationally. Here to break down the information for us is Time Warner Cable News government reporter Kirsten Garris at the Republican Election Night headquarters in Raleigh. Hey, Kirsten.
Well, Governor Pat McCrory is locked in a tight re-election battle against Attorney General Roy Cooper. Now, during this election cycle, the governor says he is the Carolina comeback candidate. He says his administration is responsible for creating more jobs, for lowering the unemployment rate in the state, and also paying off that hefty $2+ billion debt back to the federal government. Now he's pushing for 4 more years in office to continue that comeback. Earlier today, the governor stopped by this polling place in Raleigh to talk to a few voters. Now, we have seen HB2 dominate the headlines in this election, and since it passed in March, the controversial law has cost the state hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, the governor says he is a little nervous about tonight, but the same kind of nerves he had back in 2012 when he won this race. Now, he says he's also encouraged by some of the early voting numbers he's seen, which has Republicans and unaffiliated voters coming out in high numbers.
I mean, I have a lot of people, including in Charlotte, who go, Pat, I'm voting for you. I'm with you all the way. And they're almost intimidated not to say it out loud because of all the media attention on certain issues. So I do think the silent majority is voting.
And we are at the Marriott by the Crabtree, which is McCrory headquarters for tonight. Later on, we expect the governor to get here along with some supporters as we see these election results come in. For now, in Raleigh, Kirsten Garris, Time Warner Cable News.
All right, Kirsten, thanks a lot.
Quite a soundbite from the governor there.
Yeah,
we
silent
continue.
voting.
And he doesn't need to report anywhere, and he's free to go at this point.
All right, the court does find that he has served his time and he is free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else, counsel?
Definitely reference this case now.
All right, shut us down, Mr. Deputy.
All right. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. The session of Superior Court for Durham County is now in recess. Signed up. You bet. Okay.
And with that, Michael Peterson, 73 years old, 15 years of court proceedings, is walking away a free man today. You were just listening to live court proceedings in the Kathleen Peterson murder trial, where Michael Peterson, her husband, has just entered an Alford plea admitting guilt to a charge of manslaughter. Now, this plea is quite some time in the making, as I just mentioned. We have just learned that he reached an Alford plea in this, meaning he did meet with the prosecution. They did reach a deal. Peterson isn't necessarily admitting his guilt, but he is admitting that he knows there is enough evidence to convict him.
We'll come back to the Weather Center in a minute. Let's get an update from Caroline Blair at the news desk. Caroline?
All right, Lee, thank you so much for all your hard work there in the Weather on the One's Forecast Center. If you're just joining us now, 11:30, we continue our special live weather coverage of Hurricane Matthew. And we have a big update at this hour. The National Hurricane Center says Hurricane Matthew has officially made landfall, as you see here in South Carolina. You're taking a look at Charleston, South Carolina. Of course, now those that live in the Palmetto State are having to worry about storm surges. And now many spots here in North Carolina are already under flash flood warnings, as Lee and Sandra were just telling us. Now, we are receiving numerous reports of flooding already in the Sandhills and parts of the coast. You are taking a live look now out over Wrightsville Beach, where the wind and rain is just whipping. We just saw another tornado warning within the last half hour here in the eastern part of the state, and we continue to feel the impact of Hurricane Matthew. Central North Carolina is seeing a lot of wind and rain. There's also the potential for flooding. Time Warner Cable News reporter Chris Williams joins us near Old Reedy Creek and Interstate 40 in Cary. He joins us now live with the latest there. What are you seeing, Chris?
Well, Caroline, as you said, we are seeing a lot of heavy winds and rain here in the area. Let me show you how hard the rain is falling. Take a look right here. Live in Cary, Chris Williams, Time Warner Cable News.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. And of course, the roads out in eastern North Carolina are also very dangerous at this hour. Time Warner Cable News reporter Jessica Nelson continues our team coverage from Wrightsville Beach. She joins us now live with a look at how the roads are faring there. Jessica.
As you can see now, the rain is starting to come back down onto the roads. We've been advising people to stay off the roads if possible.
Jessica, thank you so much, and be safe. And of course, the Sandhills are a spot that have seen a lot of issues lately with flooding. Cumberland County now faces yet another hit just 1 week after experiencing last week's severe flooding. Time Warner Cable News reporter David Ivey is at Linear Park in Fayetteville. And David, how's it looking where you are?
We're very early in this here in Fayetteville, and already there are signs that this is going to be a very difficult day for us here in Cumberland County.
We've been covering Hurricane Matthew for over 24 hours now, and while it may be moving away, its impact will be felt for days and weeks to come, if not longer. Good morning, and thanks for joining us on this Sunday morning. We've seen severe flooding from relentless rain, downed trees from high winds, and washed out roads. The storm claiming at least 3 lives in the state, 2 from Bladen County, 1 from Sampson County. But as you see there, also hundreds of people taken out of harm's way. That dramatic video from Fayetteville, one of more than 140 swiftwater rescues. 3 people got stranded on top of their SUV. They were surrounded by raging waters after they tried to drive across the road. A team from the NYPD and the New York City Fire Department helped bring them to safety. A curfew in Cumberland County still in effect for about another hour. And the effects from the weakening system could also be felt in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. This video coming from Savannah, Georgia, where a group of homeless people waded through waist-high water in hopes of getting to higher ground. Matthew left more than 430,000 people without power in South Carolina, and 100 roads in the Charleston area were impassable on Saturday morning. And our team of meteorologists have been working day and night tracking this storm as it moved up the coast. Meteorologist Lee Ringer joining me now in lead. Hurricane Matthew now a post-tropical cyclone?
Okay, called a post-tropical cyclone. That's just a change in name. It's still just as strong as a hurricane as far as the winds go, but what happens especially as you get into the fall, as you get into the month of October, as these systems get this high up in latitude or this high up north in the Atlantic, they begin to change in structure. So it's no longer classified as a hurricane, but it's still an intense storm, and it's still causing problems in North Carolina this morning, even though it is starting to pull away from our coast. Here's the latest stats from the National Hurricane Center on the storm post-tropical Matthew.
In Raleigh, Carly Swanson, back to you.
Thanks, Carly. And for the latest information on Hurricane Matthew, keep it right here on Time Warner Cable News or head over to our website, twcnews.com. And don't go anywhere. Coming up, more updates on Matthew as people wake up this Sunday morning. Our around-the-clock coverage continues in just a moment.
All right, it's 12:55, and we are following breaking news out of Durham, the city of Durham, where you are taking a live look at protesters who are burning it looks like a picture or a poster of a Confederate flag. Now, those protests erupted near the old county courthouse about an hour ago.
Yes, Caroline, the time now is about 12:55, and this is all in response to a rumored rally of the Ku Klux Klan, or a white supremacist rally that they had heard was supposed to start around noon. Right now, we're seeing counter-protesters on this scene, hundreds of people out there. So far, we haven't heard of any violence, although we have seen some armed protesters, and as you can see, burning what it looks like to be that picture of the Confederate flag. The mood has been described as intense, and there's a lot of tension.
And they started gathering about an hour and a half ago. However, our Lenny Supal has been out there in Durham on the scene since about 6 o'clock this morning, and she joins us now with the latest. Lenny, what are you seeing? We also want to mention, as you're watching live shots of the protest in Durham, we are also following additional breaking news at this hour where we have learned that Steve Bannon has possibly been said to be out as chief White House strategist.
Yeah, the New York Times just released this information. Of course, that is something that we are working to confirm and to get more details on. So stay with Spectrum News for continuing coverage of that, as well as the protests happening in downtown Durham.
Thanks, Brian. And of course, it doesn't feel like the holidays without hearing our favorite holiday songs. And I'm joined again by meteorologist Chris Thompson. And Chris, what's your favorite song to hear during the most wonderful time of the year?
I'll tell you what, when we decorate the tree, the Mitch Miller and the Gang album comes on, and the Christmas song, chestnuts roasting on an open fire, all that's it. The backup, always the Nutcracker for us.
All right. Of course, I have to say I like Last Christmas by Wham. It's also my mom's favorite, and I just feel like it's something that's that we both listen to together, and we just love doing that this time of year. And per our producer, Erin Miller's favorite song is Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays by NSYNC. I have to say that's probably in my top 5. And what are your favorite holiday songs? We like to know what tune is your favorite to play while decorating the tree or cooking your big feast for your family. Head to our Twitter page at SpecNewsRDU to cast your vote. Happy holidays.